Welcome back. Now, let's discuss our top story that we are tracking for you this afternoon, obviously that of the former president, Jacob Zuma. We're joined via Skype by Elton Hart from the University of Johannesburg's Law Clinic. Mr. Hart, thank you so much for your time. Now, I know you've been following this story quite closely, as have the rest of South Africans. Talk to me about what the options currently are for the former president. We know that the High Court has obviously reserved judgment on that application until Friday this week. What are the legal avenues now before the former president, given that the SAPS, as you know, have until midnight tonight to act on that arrest warrant today?
Obviously, if we look at it, and now there's a lot of surrounding circumstances here, we could see that the police minister already sent a letter to the Chief Justice's office and saying that they will not execute the arrest warrant. So that in itself is a spanner in the works. Obviously, the police and the Commissioner Nkandla Sitola has up until midnight tonight to arrest, because that order has not been suspended whatsoever, because a rescission of judgment or a rescission of an order does not suspend. It's only an appeal that suspends an order. So currently that order is still standing. Obviously, one needs to now see the president has exhausted all avenues, and obviously the former president has exhausted his legal avenues. Yes, there will be an application on Monday, but what will happen on Monday, on the 12th of July, I think, is like literally where the Constitutional Court must now go and review itself and say, listen, yeah, did we make a mistake in that decision? So the rope is finished. So here we're going to have now, and what I saw yesterday playing down in court, it was technical argument. And for the man on the street, they won't necessarily understand, because there was talks of jurisdiction. Was it pre-existing jurisdiction? Was it post-existing? Those type of talks was in the mix there. And the ordinary man on the street doesn't understand this legal jargon, but for the president, it's like if Judge Nguni comes on Friday and say, okay, I don't have power to stay the warrant, then obviously the president should be arrested. But then now the Constitutional Court, if the police minister and the police commissioner does not execute on an order which was clear, they should also be in contempt of court and actually also being charged and then brought to book. So there is a lot of things at play here. So I don't know how this will play out, but I don't see nice things happening in the next couple of days. But for me, that is what needs to happen. The police commissioner needs to act on the order, because the order is not suspended or stayed. And on Friday, if Judge Nguni comes and he stays the order, good for the former president, bad for South African democracy. So this is a catch-22 and a sword that cuts both sides, because now the ordinary man on the street say, but if the former president is treated this way, then I should, because both of us are citizens. So there is the probably the dilemma, and the prickly pear will be handed depending on what Judge Nguni will say on Friday. If he stays it, then it's a difficult situation. If it doesn't stay it, then it means both these other two respondents in the application was also in contempt of court, and something must be done about them as well. So that's where we are, Onati.
Now, yesterday, Advocate Nzukaitobi for the Commission made a point that the former president's application of rescission does not suspend the present order for arrest, saying, in fact, that Mr. Zuma was, in fact, in breach of the present order, and that should be grounds for dismissal of the application in the High Court. So, in other words, they had no basis to even be at the High Court. So I know you've given us two scenarios in terms of what the court could decide. But what if it does not go the former president's way on Friday?
If it doesn't go the former president's way, then it means that firstly, the police commissioner is in contempt of a court order, because the Constitutional Court was clear, say within 3 days after he has not handed himself over, you must then arrest him, which means the police commissioner will also be and the minister will be in breach of a Constitutional Court order. So then there must be also contempt proceedings against them, because they disobeyed the highest court order, which is a standing court order. If it comes on Friday that the judge decides, listen, yeah, I'm not going to stay that, which means that is then a confirmation. And based on the letter that the Minister Cele sent to the Chief Justice's office, and also I think Commissioner Sitole through the State Attorney's office sent to the Chief Justice's office, that they will not affect, then it will mean on Friday they will now have to affect, because the warrants of committal or the warrants of arrest has not been stayed. So it means that they have to now execute. And if they don't execute, then it means that it's now for a second time that they are sort of half in defiance of a court order. Because the rescission application, although the Constitutional Court rules make provision for that application to happen, it does not suspend it. This was dealt with in 2013 when the Superior Courts Act came into operation. So it does not suspend it. It's not like an appeal. It's a rescission application. So the court needs to look at its decision. But even so, if the court comes on Monday and say, but this application, we're not going to entertain it, then they have to now affect the arrest. So here's a catch-22, and it's like sort of half three guillotines that's already there hanging, waiting to just fall on the former president. But we'll wait and see what they do. But it was highly technical argument that was pushed yesterday in the court by all three sets of the legal counsels.
Now, you mentioned, that it is a highly technical case, and you also mentioned, that the ordinary citizen will not necessarily understand what is being argued. So my question really to you, that we know that the litigant in this case, even at the, before the court, is a former president of a country. Are we not perhaps seeing what is being played out in front of us, something that would never ordinarily apply to an Unati or another ordinary citizen? Are we seeing a part of a legal process happening here because of who the former president is?
Obviously, if one looks at it, and for the ordinary man on the street, that's exactly how you placed it there, Unati. Because the ordinary man, because there's so many people that goes to court, they are found in contempt of court and they are sent to prison. And there's not a lot of leeway. And even the Constitutional Court, they made an order. I'm not saying that order that they made was constitutionally sound or not. What I'm saying is that they made an order, and then directly after they made an order, they opened the door also to accept this application by the president. They've accepted that application. So to the man on the street, that says to them, maybe it sends out the message that maybe we've made a mistake and we have to revisit our decision. Look at, did we make but for the ordinary man on the street, I don't think that door would have been opened. And that creates that ambiguity and sort of unfairness to the man in the street in his or her eyes, to say that because I don't have money, I would be treated differently from a former president. Yes, the president was the president, but still all of us are citizens of the country. So we should be treated fairly and equally before the law. And that's also the basis of his argument, saying that he should be treated fairly and equally before the law. But then all these other side circumstances and things that's playing in is also having a bearing on this matter. And that's, for me, our constitution is on a very dangerous terrain where it's being tested by the former president. And the order is clear as to what needs to happen. So for me, it's between a rock and a hard place for some of the parties involved in this litigation.
And let's see how the Constitution is also stretched out depending on the outcome this evening. Mr. Hart, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. That was Mr. Elton Hart from the University of Johannesburg's Law Clinic.